Yeah, of course. I that moment was probably remains the defining moment of my life. And I had been through a very hard time. I see it now very easily through the lens of alchemy as the final stage of a transformation where I was, well, maybe the middle stage of a transformation where I had been through a dark night of the soul. That dream was like the white light, that light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And the following of that dream was the embodiment, the reddening. So you have in alchemy, you have blackening, whitening, and reddening that are the three stages of any transformation. And I didn't know it at the time. All I knew was like, I didn't really trust academia for some reason. Like I was good at it, but I just didn't feel at home. And so I dropped out of school to see the world, saw the world, came back home and because of a death. And this dream popped in. And I was just lying on my back in a field of green grass, like a very Mars and Taurus kind of sensual nature lover experience. And I realized I could look right at the sun. And it was like this living being that I was looking at, and in the heart of the sun was the Venus glyph. And it was like, it was basically like it was like I was tripping or I was, it was very surreal. And I knew that that was coming from some place that I trusted. I don't know. I still don't exactly know. If I had to guess, I would say it's coming from, the sphere of Venus on the world tree, on the tree, but I knew I had to follow it. And so I got, and so in trying to figure out what the hell that dream might mean, I took a chance that, hey, maybe this is literal. And I got an ephemeris and I looked up the positions of Venus and the sun on that day and they were conjunct.
Wow, so
So
you
yeah,
Project Hindsight. It
yeah,
feels very, I don't know if you've ever seen the Muppet movie.
maybe I'm not entirely sure. Tell me.
For those who know what I'm talking about, I'm just imagining what like Kermit and Fozzie Bear just on the road and you just anyway, a
Yeah.
reference to those who get it. Anyways, you just come along these monks and you're like, "Yeah, I'll join you." And then
What's
from
up,
there,
bro? Yeah. What? Yeah.
and then there's just like this guy's like, "There's some astrology down the street." And like,
Totally, dude. That's exactly what it was like. Yeah. It was, and that's the way I lived my life at that time. I was absolutely peregrino. Have you ever noticed how that term peregrine, like
yeah.
in when you're in Spain, like they call the people walking Camino de Santiago, like the pilgrimage route, they call them peregrinos. You're a wanderer. You're a
Oh, I
pilgrim.
never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
You know, that just to take a detour, I think puts a whole new spin on this idea.
so if you watch, I love watching, like, if I love being in nature, and when I can't be in nature and I'm feeling the need for, I like watch nature documentaries, right? If you watch these nature documentaries about the ocean, you realize like most of the ocean is basically a desert. And it's where these different currents, the warm and the cold currents, come together, and it forces the water down and it stirs up nutrients from the bottom. And there's this stirring that, and there, by the way, this is a big part of the mythology with eclipses, like in the Vedic, in the Jyotish mythology, they literally, the gods and the demons get together with this what do you call these creatures? They're like these snake beings or dragons, and they wrap them around a mountain and they stir the ocean up to get, and so that's basically what's happening, is that there's this stirring that happens. And so, and there's really, and it's so, the profundity of it is like, you really have to understand astronomy. It's not just back and forth. This idea of wandering, coming back to that, planets make their farthest to be churned as much as be in the churning, and to turn things over, and to, that's one of the fundamental operations in alchemy, is like when you're working with a substance, and like first you'll burn it and then you'll wash it And then you kind of got to sort through and figure out, okay, what's the junk that I got to get rid of, and what's the stuff that I'm going to keep and like bring together and try to squeeze into a new thing. And so there's this, and the wonderful thing about that is that while we're having a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which is like kind of like that, that washing, we have a Virgo lunar eclipse coming up, which is really, Virgo is really great with discernment. So discerning what is worth holding on to and what it really needs to just be discarded.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, if we jump into contemporary astrology for a moment, thinking about Saturn's recent ingress into Aries and having just left that Pisces part of the chart, right? It's been there for 2.5 years. Really thinking about this retrograde and these eclipses is the final churning up. Like, it feels to me, maybe that's why right now feels so pivotal, because it's like accumulation of work we've been doing for 2.5 years.
Yeah, I agree. And this is say, when the matter becomes black, rejoice, for this is the beginning of the work. So if your life's turning to shit, rejoice. Because, I mean, but yeah, like to understand, like, yes, they're like breakdown precedes breakthrough. That's just the way it works. And so, yeah, don't freak out. Don't even necessarily avoid it.
Yeah.
But understand that it's a process, and that, I mean, I've given lectures in more US states than I haven't. And I'd be out on lecture tour, giving lecture tours during Mercury retrograde, and missing turns and losing stuff and finding a way, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the first thing, is I would say, like, just understand that it's a process and there is a map, and that and most of all, the thing that I would say is, like, it's worth it to wrestle with these tides, with this chaotic churning. He was talking to this young poet, and he was saying, if we had, any ability to see beyond our immediate situation, we might welcome our sorrows more than we do our joys, because it's at that time that the future enters us. And so, and I think he was speaking to that, like, it's in that time that, as one door closes, another opens, but we don't always see the door opening. We don't even realize that the future is entering us until much later. It's like you said, with your delayed process. But at some point in time, we've got to do that grieving to actually fully open that door and allow the future in. And so if we're able to do it in the moment, like, that's kind of ideal, right? If we can allow that door to open in the midst, and understand, yes, there's chaos and things are falling apart, but there's another door opening somewhere too. And I just gotta find, like, that's, what did Carl Jung say? In the midst of all chaos is a secret order. In the midst of all, so that finding that, trusting that life is gonna open a door also.